Sup shooters, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we're checking out a track from an act named Your Mom band titled LA Blues, and I think that's like the Long Island Blues if I'm not mistaken. And we'll switch over to here. We're going to be listening to Your Mom from start till finish with their track LA Blues, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, man, let's hear it. This is going to be fun, isn't it? Kind of jazz rock fusion chops there with the interesting guitar licks. Interesting meters there rhythmically. Kind of freeform, changes the tempo. And like the seamless transition between these various parts is really dope as well. Like it's just, you don't have to sort of like wait for the next part to come in. They just kind of slide into it. Really toasty tone on the guitar as well. You know, for a track with just the guitar and the drums, it feels super full, you know? Kind of reminds me of bands like Between the Buried and Me and stuff like that, you know? I see like fuzzy kind of overdrive and F-hole guitars, you know? Nice tom work, very adept with the technique there. Got a trash cymbal there. Ooh, it's so quick though. Good work playing with his fingers as well, like his grip there. You know, like that's great stick control. Interesting bar chords we've got on the guitar parts as well. It's kind of dope. Interesting ninth shapes. By far some of the most technical stuff I've listened to in quite a while, especially through these reviews, but Seven, 8, 7, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1. Yeah, 7, 8. I like switches between 4, 4, 7, 8 and other time signatures. Staccato groove on the offbeat is kind of a bit disconcerting, but I appreciate it. Oh, is there a bass guitar in this part? I was wondering if they'd have add a bass guitar in to sort of iron out the low end a little bit, you know? I like the fact that the video is showcasing both of them sort of semi-equally. I think it's great because they're both really talented musicians, you know. And that returns to that original motif. It's definitely a journey that we're going on here. Again, it's not random. Like they've got sequences there that they're instantiating here. They go into familiar motifs and then kind of going off on adventures elsewhere, and they're in time and in sync, and it's beautiful, man. Really complex harmonies which fill in for multiple instruments. I like the fact that even though we've got these really intricate grooves, we have found a point now where we want to bring it down a little bit with the intensity of percussion. The guy's clearly very quick and adept with the sticks, but allowing for the kind of things to come deflate a little bit, just calm down for the outro point there. Bring it to a slow burn, you know. Oh, never mind. Damn, man, because apparently they are from Long Island, so this is kind of tribute to their home. It's dope. It's very different than a lot of the blues I've listened to, but I nonetheless appreciate it. And this is the conclusion of my review of LA Blues by the Your Mom Band. What do I think this track is about? I think it's about the artistic representation of Long Islanders as their place of where they grew up. I think that it was a really interesting instrumental here. Obviously, we didn't have vocals, but I didn't feel like we were lacking, in part because the song was, for several reasons. One, I mean, that the emotional tone of the track was very diverse and almost, there's a specific word I'm looking for, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But basically, you get a very kind of cultured, without, you know, like doing the whole big brain thing. It sounds very cultured. Like they've clearly got backgrounds in like rock and progressive stuff and the jazz stuff and everything like that. They clearly value their music theory and composition. They're both musicians who are clearly quite adept at their instruments. They're very comfortable, not only playing their own parts, probably both far beyond grade 8 at this point, but also it's like you've got this wonderful sort of unity between the two of them, as if they were there with each other for the entirety of the build there, and it's incredible. I very rarely see duos like this that are so proficient. Just from an instrumental perspective alone, from a technique, from that basis and standpoint, I really hope these guys continue to produce stuff because they've clearly got the chops for it. But to try and sort of understand the motif of this track, we started with one guitar riff and the drums following alongside and maintaining a steady groove with that. We then moved to another section which offered a slightly different emotional angle there. We had bits of discordance in amongst more sort of satisfying sort of like post-rock kind of elements there, where things were a little bit sort of sadder maybe, to things lifting with occasional major parts there. And it was almost relaxing when things came down for a bit of respite in the later stage where things slowed down with the chords. A little bit of a sort of a takeaway from what we had with the really intense kind of distorted kind of or overdriven kind of fuzzy bar chords and extensions there, with some really interesting sevenths or maybe some diminished, some tritones in there, etc. But the ferocity of the 8th and 16th and even faster than the 16th triplets or 32nds that we had on the kit, as well as a range of different hits on the toms and the snares and the cymbal work as well, and the articulation of different motifs going backwards and forwards between them in ways that, even with the amount of chaos and flexibility in the performance and the composition, allowed us to sort of seemingly recognize where we were and where we've come from. It's just really fascinating music. I don't know how they made this. I don't know how they wrote it. As someone, I just don't know how they did it. I'm amazed that they did, though. I assume they would have, again, come up with that one riff, made another part of it, and kind of slowly developed it over time. It's incredibly intricate, and just the fact that there was not a note out of place, there weren't any hiccups, there weren't any mistakes, shows that this is not only a band who can write stuff to this level and who can compose to this level. It's also a band who can play to that level. And as I understand it, not only have they been recording, they've also done live shows. And to be able to entertain a crowd with instrumental music, you either need to make stuff that's quite palatable and easy to digest so that people can kind of groove along to it, or have it as like background ambient stuff, or you need to be able to play. And we had that situation here. Little sweep sections, sort of arpeggiated bits with big sort of chord shapes, lots of movement over the fretboards there, and really interesting tonalities with the harmonies when they came in, with some changes as well to the time signatures. We went between like 7/8 and 4/4, and there might have even been some polymeter stuff going on, or polyrhythm stuff going on outside of that. In fact, there probably was. And it's just wonderfully textured and very interesting to listen to. I firmly believe that the guitar work made up for having just one lead element by actually playing everything in there. And even though there was a bass guitar that was added later on, I still feel as though it was great that it was occasional, because I honestly don't think that bass at the end made the song. The song sounded interesting enough without it. I firmly believe that the bass was there just as a little bit of extra sort of low-end kind of warmth or oomph there to kind of maybe get the listener over the finish line, so to speak. But the music was interesting enough that I don't think we needed that. I feel like there's only so much you can say about the way the guitar was played and the way the drums were played, with like the ghost notes and the accents and the wonderful sort of like the flams and all that. We had the fundamentals secured with showing off our skill sets, but it's also worth mentioning the fact that it was 4 minutes 11. For a track to be instrumental and be that engaging for this long, you kind of need to be able to sort of like shred in the most relevant way, and sort of your drum chops need to be down, and there needs to be a wonderful unison with the performance, which there was, but you also just need to make it somehow easy to follow along to, and I think for sure we had that. Even if there was a lot going on with the note choices and the harmonies and stuff like that, and it was very quick and speedy at some bits, it was still like you were going along a roller coaster and the car going up and down and stuff like that. I think the strength of this track was that we didn't have more than one harmonic or melodic instrument there, aside from with the bass at the end. I think that was the strength that we had, is that because we had that complexity on the one instrument, it made it sort of that was like digestible. I'm not going to pretend this music is for everyone, because I think some people just simply would just struggle with how it sounds and trying to equate it to a lot of the stuff that they might hear on an everyday basis in the more mainstream spec. But I'm nonetheless very, very happy with this, and it's indicative of the promise that these musicians have as professional artists. The recording, mixing, and mastering, the studio stuff was fantastic. I'm really, really happy with it. I think they did a tremendous job here, getting the essence of the live performance between the guitarist and drummer here. And they really just smashed it out of the park with the warmth of the recording there, the tones on the guitars and drums, the filtering and EQing of the various elements of the mix and stuff like that, without oversaturating each of the percussive or sort of string elements there with effects. There's a bit of reverb, a bit of sort of like maybe a tube scream or something on the guitar there. And, you heard that guitar sing. And it's not just technique, but it's also simply knowing how to dial in the tone you need to suit the drums. The drums are wonderfully tuned there. Very little compression or stuff added to it in the mastering process. I think this is just one of those very rare situations where you just had a really good take. They just knew how to play, and they just smashed it out of the park. I'm really happy with what I've heard from the Your Mom band today with LA Blues or Long Island Blues, because this is my review of this track, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page. Stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need to help more than ever with the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.